If you've followed Soil Power for a while, you already know I love experimenting with odd, cheap, and so crazy it might work ideas in the garden, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened the day I poured rotting bread water into a tired, compact corner of my garden. I wasn't expecting much, maybe a little microbial boost or a slight compost tea effect, but within days, the soil surface started to move. And soon, to my shock, thousands of earthworms began appearing as if I had opened some kind of underground worm nightclub. I knew I had to dig into why this worked, not just for my garden, but so I could share the real science, the real method, and the real results with you here on Soil Power. Today, I'm giving you an in-depth, actionable guide to turning something as humble and smelly as rotten bread water into a powerful soil-reviving elixir. Whether you're a total beginner or a seasoned gardener with decades under your boots, this method is worth knowing. At first glance, rotting bread water looks like nothing more than kitchen waste on its way to the trash, but when bread breaks down in water, something fascinating happens. It becomes a microbiological feast. The yeast, sugars, starches, and carbohydrates in bread quickly ferment, encouraging explosive growth of beneficial microorganisms. These microbes multiply rapidly, breaking down the starch into simple compounds that act as microbial food, both above and below the soil. This surge of microbial activity is exactly what soil organisms, especially earthworms, love. Worms are attracted to moist microbe-rich zones because microbes break down organic material into softer, nutrient-dense matter that worms can digest. When you pour rotting bread water into the ground, you're essentially creating a microbial hotspot, a buffet line so irresistible that earthworms will literally migrate toward it in huge numbers. Experienced gardeners know. Where microbes flourish, worms follow. And where worms go, soil health skyrockets. It's as simple as it sounds. Old bread soaked in water long enough to ferment and decompose, but the real secret comes from letting it rot until it becomes a nutrient-dense slurry full of yeast, lactic acids, beneficial bacteria, and soft organic particles. This mixture works similarly to mild compost tea, but it has a unique advantage. Bread breaks down fast, creating rich microbial activity without requiring special equipment or brewing steps. If you've ever wondered what to do with stale or moldy bread, now you have a powerful option. In true Soil Power style, I used what I had on hand. No fancy materials, no costly additives, just kitchen scraps and patience. I took a few pieces of stale bread, broke them into small chunks, and placed them in a bucket. I filled the bucket with enough water to cover the bread completely and left it outside in a shaded corner. Within 3 to 5 days, the transformation began. The bread softened, dissolved, and released a sour smell, your classic sign of natural fermentation. The water became cloudy, then creamy, and finally developed a slightly sweet, slightly sour scent that told me the microbes were alive and well. If you try this at home, don't worry if you see bubbles, foam, or even a thin white film. All of that is normal microbial behavior and a sign your brew is active. By day 7, the mixture was fully fermented and ready for the garden. So, I poured the rotting bread water into an area of my garden that, honestly, really needed some help. The soil there was dry, compact, and, well, pretty low in organic activity. When you dug into it, you rarely found more than 1 or 2 worms, if any at all. But, within just 3 days of applying the mixture, the soil surface actually started to change. It stayed moist for longer, which was surprising. It even darkened a bit. And most fascinating of all, small holes began appearing everywhere, not from pests, but from worms tunneling upward. By day 5, I could lift the mulch and see dozens of worms. On day 7, there were hundreds. And by the second week, after another mild application, worms had colonized the entire section, turning what had been dead, compact earth into soft, rich, aerated, biologically alive soil. It's amazing. Worms know good soil before we do. And when they show up in numbers, it means you've given them what they need. Now, experienced gardeners always want the why, not just the what, right? So, let's break it down a bit more deeply. First, rotting bread water boosts microbial populations. Microbes feed on the starches and sugars in bread, and this microbial explosion draws in worms, springtails, and all sorts of beneficial soil organisms. Second, worms follow those microbial trails. Earthworms don't actually eat plants, they eat microbes and decaying matter. Rotting breadwater creates perfect worm food zones. Third, worms aerate and revitalize the soil. Their tunneling improves drainage, oxygen flow, and nutrient cycling. Fourth, the rotting bread introduces mild organic acids, which help break down hard, compact soil, making it way easier for worms and roots to penetrate. And fifth, the resulting soil becomes a self-sustaining ecosystem. Once worms establish themselves, they maintain soil fertility naturally. So, this is exactly why the method works so well. Not because bread is magic, but because bread feeds microbes, and microbes feed worms. One thing I want to be really clear about, rotting bread water is powerful, but you have to use it correctly. Avoid pouring large amounts directly onto plant stems. You want to apply it only to the soil, not the foliage. The fermented liquid is gentle, but if you use too much, the acidity can actually stress delicate plants. The goal here is to enrich the soil life, not to overwhelm it. Also, don't use bread that has green or black mold if you're sensitive to allergens. Mold is normal and even beneficial for soil, but, just handle it with care. As long as you use the mixture responsibly and moderately, it's safe, effective, and honestly, really garden-friendly. So, after plenty of experimenting, here is what works best. Use it once every 2 to 3 weeks in problem areas, like compacted beds, new beds, or soil that's just lacking worm activity. It's important to apply it early in the morning, or late in the evening, to retain moisture, and protect those helpful microbes from sun exposure. Always water lightly afterward. This really helps move the microbial-rich liquid deeper into the root zone, where worms and soil organisms live. Within just a few days you'll begin noticing changes, not always as dramatic as my experience, but definitely real, measurable improvements in soil texture, moisture retention, and biological life. Like anything in organic gardening, moderation is key. Using too much rotting bread water might attract unwanted pests like ants or rodents if the bread chunks aren't fully decomposed. Over-fermented mixtures can also go strongly acidic, which could temporarily disrupt soil pH. But, hey, the solution is simple. Use small amounts, well diluted, and just observe your soil's response. Let the biology guide you. After all, Mother Nature knows best. Over time, worm populations stabilize, soil structure improves dramatically, and plant roots start to grow faster and deeper. Soil that once crusted over now stays soft. Water absorption increases, fertility rises naturally. This method isn't just a quick fix. It sets the foundation for sustainable soil health and long-term garden success. It turns waste into power, neglect into abundance, and ordinary gardeners into soil magicians. If you've been struggling with compact soil, weak plant growth, or low worm activity, why not give this simple trick a try? It costs nothing, uses scraps you already have, and unlocks some of the most profound soil changes you may ever see. Rotting bread water is more than a quirky experiment. It's a reminder of how powerful natural processes can be when we let them work for us. And trust me, once you see worms rushing into your garden like I did, you'll never look at old bread the same way again. If you enjoyed this guide and want more strange, science-backed, real-world gardening tricks, don't forget to subscribe to Soil Power and share this article with your gardening friends. Your support helps keep this community growing and keeps experiments like this coming. Let's keep building healthier soil, one humble kitchen scrap at a time.